Welcome back to Sci-Fi Book Trek. We're back with our spoiler review of Wagon Train to the Stars, a Star Trek original series novel, part 1 of 6.
Right, we'll start with a chronological order. The book splits up a bit, but first of all, Kirk goes to meet the Federation president, and the president says, look, we've got this colony, they're going the other side of the universe, they don't really want our help, but we kind of want to show we're not just letting people just go out and die. So we're going to send them a ship, and we want you to captain it. And Admiral Kirk decides, well, I guess I could be a captain again. However, you got to give me a new uniform. So they start off on their way, and as they're going, a load of disasters start happening. First of all, a drone malfunctions and starts trying to carve a colony ship in half. They manage to defuse that by Kirk being Kirk, getting in there and actually
Pulling the plug out.
Yeah. It goes on. There's also an epidemic going on, which is lovely.
It's a lung flu, and it's extremely contagious.
Yes. And the number of people have already died. And we think, oh, this is odd. But it all comes back to a person Kirk has interacted with before, Billy, who's the snake oil salesman.
How would you like to make $1, Billy?
My name's not Billy, Grandpa. It's Stan.
Damn it, Billy, do you want $1 or don't you?
Sure.
Kirk has tried to arrest him previously before they left.
Because he kept stealing Kirk's whip.
Yeah, he shut up. And then Kirk boards his ship, takes all his loot, and says, right, they're all confiscated. You're going to jail. Billy manages to get out on the loophole, gets a alias, and joins the colony with plans.
I've got a plan so cunning you could put a tail on it and call it a weasel.
Now, it transpires that his plans are to cause enough problems for the colony that one of the colony ships decides to turn back, and all the problems stop on the main expedition because Billy's gone. However, what Billy's planning is contacting the Orions. The Orions come by and go, oh, there's a load of slaves in this nice, lovely ship. So they start attacking. Kirk, however, predicts something's going on and manages to warp in there just in the nick of time. So Billy has to flee with the Orions, and he goes, right, I've got another plan. We'll attack their supply convoy, which is just further on, which I haven't reached yet.
You must construct additional pylons.
Expedition gets back together and everyone decides we're going forwards. They get to the supply dump and they find it's completely destroyed. However, the main lighthouse keeper who was there, he's just knocked out, and there's also 60 aliens, which no one's ever come across before, just happen to be in there as well. They've got an interesting story, which is, oh yes, people who we don't like attack this place, and we took refuge here as they blew up our starship. Honest, Governor, really. But what it turns out to be is, as you learn throughout the book, these two alien races who live near where the expedition's going, and they've been fighting a war for ever since they can remember.
Before time began, there was the cube.
But suddenly they found out Federation's coming.
White man came across the sea.
And they've done sort of a alliance to try and stop the Federation. However, neither party trusts the other party and has backup plans or main plans to betray the other faction.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
The colony decides to push on a bit more past the supply wagon. There's a major battle where the alien fleet engages with the Federation, the colony ships.
And Kirk circles the wagons in 3 dimensions.
Digital 3D. In digital 3D. In digital 3D. In 3D. In 3D. In 3D.
Okay, sure. I don't have problems, which I'll be bringing up in nitpicks at all, in any way. But anyway, they defeat these, 200 alien ships.
The sentries report Zulus to the southwest. Thousands of them.
They go away, and that's pretty much the end of this book.
Book 1.
Yeah.
So that brings us on to what did we love, what did we hate?
Right, let's go on to the things I love. I love that the original crew's there, and they're mostly...
Intact.
Yeah, intact. They seem like their original characters. That's all good. I do like that. I like how they've sort of got to work with, civvies. And, not be sort of too disciplined with them. But also go, look, you've got to do it this way, otherwise it causes problems. And, I do like that kind of interaction and play with them. I do like some of the set pieces, like big battles.
Yeah.
I have some issues with how they're done, but I do like them. But yeah, I mean, what would you like about it?
Personally, I like some of the technical aspects. Like, for instance, the technical readouts in the books about what each ship does. There's these insert bits where you get a fleet document about what their responsibilities are. I like those bits. Weird thing to be heads up on, but that it's little bits of sugar candy on top of a cake. It's just things like that set my tech head nerd bits going.
You like the Chakotay, not Chakotay.
Chakotay.
This is the wrong chapter.
A Chekhov moment.
I did like the Chekhov moment. I thought that was really funny. I can imagine Pavel Chekhov talking to himself. It's yes, you stand in the corner. You'll be McCoy. You can tell me, you cannot do that, Pavel. Just keep repeating that every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was sort of occasionally getting flashes of how much for just the planet from him, but yeah.
But there was the one point where the author actually describes that what he's saying comes out as something.
Oh yeah.
She describes it phonetically, and the kids that basically.
It takes him a few seconds to understand what he means. Yeah.
And it's nuclear vessel.
It's where they keep the nuclear vessels.
But that's just a personal, that's a personal thing for me. I like that Maiden Shaw is just an absolute cunt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing particularly redeemable about the character, and it's nice to have someone... I know there's the thing, it's he's definitely not Federation, utopian, ideal civilian, but it is nice to have a character you can just basically look at and go, you're a git, you're an asshole. I'm designed not to like you. That makes it a lot easier to read, because some of the things that he gets up to, it's you're a scumbag.
Yeah.
Scumbag through and through. But he does come off as somewhat charismatic in that respect as well. Yeah. It's
he's got the gift of the gab.
Yeah. And that does come across very well in the pages and then the characterization. The realistic issues that a colony or fleet, or convoy rather, that they might face, and I think I mentioned this in the non-spoilers, that because Diane Carey's got actual experience with naval reenactments, I can imagine that she's being able to...
She sells some historic ships, like sailing ships.
Yeah, and that she's been able to pick up that information and knows, it's okay, well, how would you handle this aspect of this? The Enterprise is very much the flagship of the fleet, which, minor nitpick before we get to the nitpick section, really and truly, he should be Commodore Kirk.
Under $300, the wonder computer of the 1980s, the Commodore VIC-20.
But, yeah, the whole thing, the Enterprise has been refit to show all of the readouts from the like across the whole thing, all the ships, all the positions.
I was thinking, is that a refit from motion picture? That's refit.
That is true. There's a possibility there. My mental impression was that he's got like fleet, fleet movements, fleet positions, and each one of his senior officers has been given much more responsibility beyond their normal roles. For instance, Dr. McCoy is now in charge of the entire surgery contingent for the entire convoy, and he spends most of his time on the Mercy ship.
The medical ship. Yeah.
Montgomery Scott is just flitting around between every single ship because he's like the head engineer, and I like that the characters have been able to expand beyond their normal ship-based roles and take on this massive amount of responsibility that is very, very similar to what they normally do, but applied on a fleet-wide situation.
And he's managed to fit like sort of standalone engines too.
Those are an interesting idea. Again, another interesting technical idea. Fitting warp tug engines to what is essentially a massive barge full of people.
Because I'm sure the barges, I think they do appear in, I want to say Enterprise. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
No.
But yeah, I think they have appeared on film before.
Maybe they left the planet before it could affect them.
That would have been difficult. That's a bulkhead. They designed their ship to be disassembled. That's how they built the colony. It was a one-way trip.
But yeah, that was my personal set of loves.
Well, I mean, is there anything you hated or disliked?
The only thing that I would say I personally disliked is that the alien sections are some of the slowest parts of the book. The sections with the blood many and the cold.
Yeah.
They are building towards something, but because this is book one of book six, like book one of 6 books, it's all set up, no payoff. There is literally no real payoff to any of that stuff, and so it seems very, very disjointed and very disconnected from the rest of the story. And that is where... that's the weakest elements of the book that I feel. But as I say, with that in mind, it could be building to something, and that is necessary as part of this book to lay the groundwork foundations for that stuff coming.
I mean, like, I do hope it is. I think it should. Well, is. However, some of the alien sections, it does feel like you go back to them and they're just retreading the same thing. But yeah, I mean, for me, the parts I disliked, as I previously mentioned. Did you know this is a wagon train? Oh my god, just stop. Just shut the f*** up and stop. It was like, there's tons of things. Oh, and also, do you know how American they are? At one point, someone actually says, I have the right to bear arms. Not, give me a damn phaser. No, I have the right to bear arms.
They've also got a ranch.
Yeah, they've got like a cattle ranch. Oh, God. And cowboys. It specifically mentions cowboys as well. Not robotic, like, no, cowboy. Okay, sure. Okay, whatever. Like, it says, it mentions they've got cattle. Does it mention they've got sheep or anything? I don't
believe
so.
it does.
No. So it's just beef.
Yes, cattle was very much a mentioned aspect.
Yeah, but yeah, if you can get past the whole, like, it's a wagon train, even though, if you're going to link it to American history, it makes far more sense linking it to, say, like, the Mayflower crossing, going over a huge body of empty water to a new land to set up a new colony. No. We're going to do it so it's Wagon Train, so we can link in Wagon Train from the stars.
I mean...
And like it's very much the American ideal of the Wagon Train rather than reality.
I mean, I am genuinely surprised that you didn't pick up on the whole the Blood Mini ride around with feathers in their hat.
Oh yes.
Rather...
Oh no, I did, but I just was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. They're the natives.
Just to expand, yeah. They have feathers in their shoes, or one of them talks about wearing a plume.
One of them sort of has feathers like naturally growing from, but the other one decorates themselves with like feathers and stuff because they are sort of bird-like.
Yeah, but they are clearly allegory for the Native Americans.
Yes,
and yeah, there's that aspect as well that I kind of...
And it's just like, I hope in later books it shows the colonists massacring them. Just outright killing them. Just for no reason.
For historical accuracy.
Yeah. Because it's a Wagon Train. I mean, I also hope there's tons of indigenous life on this new planet. They immediately get out and shoot and make it extinct for historical accuracy.
You like this book?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, when it's not banging on about it's a Wagon Train. It's a good book. But my God, there are moments where it's just like, just shut up. And like, when they get attacked by the Orions,
yes,
and it says the Orions circle the ship, and I was thinking, oh, that's, it's like circling the wagons, but it's an interesting way to do it because it's the enemy who's circling. That's a clever idea. I like that. You got the reference in, but in a clever way.
And then later on, Sphere, the colony. It's like they make us two spheres out of the ships to like stop the Native American people from attacking. It's just, oh God, it's so ham-fisted at times. I would agree with you. It's a touch, but I liked that. I thought it was cheesy, but I don't know. I didn't find it offensive as you know.
Like I didn't find it like offensive. It was just grating.
Just battered into you.
Yeah, it was just constantly. Oh, also, it does do the biggest mistake most authors do because it was written in the 2000s, probably. Every adult just drinks coffee. There is no other fucking drink. It's just coffee for breakfast, coffee for lunch, coffee for everything's coffee.
Yeah, but they threw the tea in the harbour before they left.
No one drinks anything else. But like they don't drink orange juice or anything. It's just coffee. I think there's one mention of espresso, and that's it. That's the only other fucking drink mentioned, and that's coffee. And it's like,
yeah. Well, I was about to mention that.
Yes,
espresso is coffee.
Yes, that's what I mean. It's just a different version of coffee. So, like, that's the only two drinks it's mentioned. It's like, there are other beverages people drink.
Yeah.
I know you're a goddamn author and that's all you think people drink. That and wine. But for fuck's sake.
But again, if you want to go with the American, like the American pioneer spirit that you should be going with. Oh no, that's the thing. I completely agree with you. I don't even think Americans at the time of the pioneering thing, would they have been?
No, I think they would have had
Coffee.
yeah.
Because, I mean, it comes from Turkey originally, doesn't it? Coffee beans.
Was it Renew? No, that's tobacco. Yeah, I might
You get
do.
tobacco's New
Yeah.
World.
But no, there were coffee houses like throughout Europe quite early on.
So on today's episode of Shit I Learnt While Editing This Review, coffee originates from Ethiopia. It was apparently discovered by a farmer who saw his goats eating the coffee fruit and acting strangely. It made its way north to Istanbul, which was home to some of the first coffee houses. And yes, cowboys drink considerable amounts of coffee. Thanks to the high levels of caffeine, it was ideal for a tiring job like cattle herding, which involved long days in the saddle. It was also seen as patriotic, as the events in Boston had led to tea being seen as a mark of the colonial past, and coffee became a national drink as a sort of fuck you to England.
I mean, like, I'm not saying people don't drink coffee. I'm saying there are other drinks adults can have which aren't coffee.
Indian blood. Smallpox blankets.
Also,
I'm sorry. Go on.
That was another thing. There are apparently Christians still in space in the Federation.
I mean,
which I found odd.
If you want to go on to nitpicks now, because
that
is admittedly...
Yeah. Right, so I tell you what, we'll go on to nitpicks, because, yeah.
So the next section is a topic which is much deeper and far-reaching in terms of Star Trek franchise lore, specifically religion within the Trek universe. There's a lot of background lore for this topic, not least of which is Gene Roddenberry's own views on religion that crossed over into his work on Star Trek. It would be easy to make complete videos on their own merit, but as there are only small parts of this book, we only discuss somewhat basics with that in mind. So please bear that in mind when listening to this next section, as there's a lot more information that we can't include for time considerations.
I don't have time. Not enough time!
It's the universal translator conversation all over again.
Yeah. First nitpick, Christianity in space. And it's Christianity because one person says something like, oh, thank Christ, or something like that. And his brother pulls him up and goes, oh, don't take the Lord's name in vain. Like, essentially, sort of like,
yes.
But it's like, right, so there's religion, it's Christian religion. And he's the only religious person who's portrayed in the colony. Because the only religion in Wagon Train is Christian.
I mean, there was an awful lot of atheistic elements in the original series. Well, in the original Star Trek, most religions didn't come across. I think Picard actually referred to religion as ancient superstition and fear at one point.
Your report describes how rational these people are. Millennia ago, they abandoned their belief in the supernatural. Now you are asking me to sabotage that achievement, to send them back into the dark ages of superstition and ignorance and fear? No!
It's only when they got to Deep Space Nine that they started exploring that aspect again.
Yeah, but that was a completely different religion. Yeah,
I know, it wasn't the Federation, but there was still... The door was opened. Initially, religion was not seen, or at least in the earlier Trek, religion was not seen as something that...
But even in Deep Space Nine, the initial, like, reaction from, like, the Federation to, like, the religion is like, oh, that's nice. Good for you. Even though they do say they've got the coronary barge and there's a number of areas set up for different
belief
services.
systems.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have one?
I like the character of Maiden Shaw. However, I do think some of the stuff that he gets up to is broken. Like, his ability to beat the rap at the start of the book is extremely contrived. like getting off on a technicality. I can't say that it wouldn't work, but then he just decides, oh, I'm going to enter this colony at the 11th hour.
Yeah, that's a bit odd.
Yeah. And some of the things that he gets up to during the journey, for instance, being able to manufacture a lung flu. It's like, yeah, okay, you've been shown to... If you were comparing him to a mafia don, maybe he's got people that might have that expertise, but to have them available to him, being able to beam through shields or manipulate the shields so that they're down for slightly longer, so he can sneak around and break the quarantine, so he can sell...
And he can spread the virus to other ships as well.
But
yeah, I mean, I would also... The one nitpick with him was... Originally, he starts out on one of the private yachts.
Yeah.
As it's described.
The Pandora's Box.
Yeah. However, that ship does not turn around with the colony, because he has to join the colony. So, but I thought he was in control of that ship. So it's like, why has that ship not turned around?
Yeah.
So he can live in like his comfort instead of... You would think that's what he would do. That was the only like...
I mean, they did assign him as their leader, so...
Yeah, but still, you would think, oh, well, he has a pompous attitude on himself. He would go, oh, well, I'm the leader. I deserve the best, which is my private yacht.
But also, that point at which his crew, he's about to dump them into essentially the same situation as the civilians. If his crew were all sitting on a separate ship, they wouldn't have to be worrying about being attacked. So it does seem a bit weird that he's got this transceiver saying, yeah, get me off the ship before the shooting starts, and then the rest of his crew are going, oh god, you're gonna leave us. It's like, no, don't worry. But if they were on the Pandora's Box, that wouldn't be a problem, because the Orions would just be told, well, don't shoot at that ship.
I mean, you could say maybe that device would have been confiscated off them when they stuck him in the locker, so the Orions wouldn't have been able to know which life signal is his and beam him out.
Yeah. But then again, he does manage to keep that for a long time.
So he hid it. In one place he knew he could hide something, his ass.
So much so that it enables him to...
the alien.
Well, it enables him to escape later as well.
Well, yeah. But also, that's the thing, he... the other little nitpick around him was... at the end, where the Orion ships fly into the main battle. Now, the Orion ships haven't been hit yet, but yet Kirk manages to beam him out of the Orion ship, even though the Orion ship, I'm guessing, would have shields.
Yes.
And also, well, I mean, you could say the Enterprise has shields, but could probably beam through their own shields just by modulating the frequency, maybe.
Salazar, how many people do we still have down there?
73, sir.
Put the Borg ship on screen. Should I raise shield, sir? Not yet. I want to keep bringing people up until the last possible second.
It's like as they're shooting through.
Did you just technobabble me?
I mean, have you got more, or shall I go on?
No. I think that's pretty much my nitpick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could probably make out something about how the Enterprise got there so quickly. Since it was like a month for travel for the ship and warp. I mean, like, I know the warp curve.
Yeah, the warp curve is very weird.
So...
Because travelling at warp...
Without going into all the maps of it, which I didn't really want to. It was just like, okay, sure, I'll give you, but something in the back of my head saying something's a bit off.
Yeah. Because travelling at 1 month at warp 2 is not 5 minutes at warp 9. And I know that you have the technical issues with keeping the transport ships to warp 2 because that's the maximum they can do with the engines. And the Enterprise can obviously do a lot quicker, being a Starfleet
But he still feels it gets there slightly too quick for.
Yes. And especially considering that Uhura comes in at warp 6 with a bunch of shuttles flying in.
Yeah.
And even then, if she can get there at warp 6, like, again, the warp curve is so weird.
Yeah, because Kirk does like an
end run.
Yeah, and comes in from the back. So they're all just seeing Uhura, and he goes around.
Yeah.
So he's going fast because he's going like warp 9.
Well,
almost 10. So
they reckon that because that's one of the lines as well that struck me now that you're talking about it. It's like Sulu's almost breaking warp 10, and I was like, oh god, they're all going to turn into salamanders.
Yeah, but isn't after they redo the warp cut? Curve?
Yeah, because they've remade the warp curve.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go on to final thoughts.
Yes. I still enjoyed it. I would still be more than happy to go on to the next book in the series and see where it's going from here. My issue would be, as a sort of cautious overlook, with everything that has happened in this book, I do not know what they would do to fill another 5 books worth of content.
Yeah. I completely agree with you there. I do not see how 5 books are going to get filled. However, like this book, it does feel fairly filled for what it is.
Oh, yeah. This is what I say about adaptation. I think it would have made a decent episode, or possibly even a movie. There's a lot of certainly action set pieces to be getting on with. Characters are intact, which is lovely to see in Star Trek material.
I mean, yeah, I would say if it was made into a full show, it would feel a bit Battlestar Galactica, and I would feel it would get probably unfair criticism because of that.
Mm.
There are parts of it which just infuriate me, but that might just be down to being me, so I'm not going to hold it against the book. It was fun, it was well written, and yeah, I did like it.
Excellent.
So, I mean, you definitely go on to read the second book.
Yeah. Based on the first one, I would definitely want to go on to read the second.
Same here. At some point, we might get onto it. So, if you want to let us know we should, leave a comment.
And, of course, subscribe. I know that's cheesy, but it would be really nice if people started subscribing, because it's fun to see the analytics on the channel. We are a relatively young channel still, but it's nice to see people are actually watching the videos, and they are watching for a certain amount of time, but subscribing will help us to improve.
Yeah. Once we know what we're doing right and wrong. But anyway, we'll go on to the end, I guess. I mean, what are we doing next week?
So, next week, we'll be doing Ian M. Banks. Consider Phlebas. You hate that pronunciation.
No, it's fine.
Phlebas. I'm going to be driving you.
No, that's fine. That's how I hear it most of the time, so it's like fine. Anyway, join us in a week for a review of that. And
once again, thanks for watching.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The only other nitpick I had was, how does the Blood Leader, who I forget how to pronounce his name,
Shakorian.
Yeah, Shakorian. How does he get off?
Sorry, I couldn't. Damn it!